Ladies and gentlemen, good morning, and thank you for joining this morning for the breakfast call. Today we are celebrating our first birthday of this breakfast call. We started in May 2019, and you are always more and more to join us on this Wednesday morning. So thank you very much for the time and your engagement with us, with ASEA. I'm very happy today to welcome a strong leader and a very knowledgeable person, our triple diamond from Norway, Oddmund Berger. So Oddmund, thank you very much and welcome. The topic of today will be how to handle today's situation mentally, grow your business exponentially, and come out of these challenging times on top. So with those words, Oddmund, I leave it over to you. Thank you.
Thank you, Edward. Good morning, everyone. And let me see if I can share my screen with you. Hold on a second. This is early, very early. But I'm happy to be with you. We all make sacrifices every once in a while. So if Edward can just confirm that this works. You can see the picture here.
Yes, we can see Oddmund. Thank you.
Thank you. So good morning to everyone out there in Europe. It's a pleasure to be on this call, although it is 2 hours before I usually get out of bed, or at least I got out of bed 2 hours before I usually get out of bed. I'm a night person, but every once in a while we, of course, do this, and it's a pleasure to be with you this morning all over Europe. And this is how my world looks like these days. My wonderful wife, Angelika, is not with me. She hasn't been since 7th of March, actually, because she decided to go to Germany to visit her mother for a couple of weeks and couldn't get back. So I had to come back and, go back in years and years ago. I used to be able to have a single life where I cooked my own dinners and I washed my own clothes and so on and so forth. So here's a little selection of my dinners over the past weeks here in southern Spain, because my wife is still in the Hamburg area visiting her mother. We're hoping to have her back here in the beginning of June at some point. So as you know, there are travel restrictions, etc. Has not been easy. And another thing is, I'm used to doing my 1 hour exercise every single day. More or less every single day out here in the neighborhood, but I couldn't do that either, because in southern Spain, or in Spain in general, actually, we have been locked down, as they say. So I have not been able to go out of the house other than to buy food every couple of weeks or so. So as you can see there, I have a little step machine, thanks to my wife, who bought this years ago. We haven't been using it. It was sitting in a corner collecting dust. So I undusted it, and that was my savior of the past weeks, until a week or two ago, when we were allowed to go out again. So now we are out exercising. But as you see, with adversity comes opportunity, they say, and we pick up things that we didn't even remember we could do. Not going to say that I lived a very healthy lifestyle, but I managed to keep my weight, so to speak. So let me start today, as I start every presentation these days, with ASEA's vision, because I think it's important that we actually know and understand what's behind ASEA's vision, and that we align our vision, our personal vision with this business, with ASEA's vision. And that is to become the recognized global leader in cellular health and redox-based technologies, and achieve worldwide distribution of these life-changing products. But then most people who work with ASEA stop there, or they're way too much focused there. But we also got to remember that we can help people in many other ways as well, because there is also a financial opportunity and a culture. And within culture, you have opportunities to offer personal and professional development that you don't see anywhere else out there. And if you saw it, you would have to pay a lot of money to get this. So I like to see this as let's say a buffet table. Let's say I invited you for a lunch, a buffet lunch or buffet dinner. I would lead you to the table and I'll show you what's on the table. I'll even describe what's on the table. But I would leave it up to you what to eat, meaning that it is totally up to you which parts of the ASEA's vision that you take part in. But I would suggest that you think of the people that you talk to, so that you don't only share the products, but also share the financial opportunity and the culture and the pleasure of making a difference for other people, the way you can become more and develop yourself and make a difference for other people around the world with all kinds of things. Now you can see that how ASEA wants to fulfill their vision, which is also how we do this, is to have and live by a mission to better people's lives and to be a force for good in the world. And sometimes that's not just to present the products. That could be just to be a friend when a friend needs it. That could be to help a person who is an entrepreneur with a good idea for how to run their business, if you have one. It could be any kind of things. You make friends and you build relationships with people, and then you help them the way they need to be helped. And if possible, maybe ASEA's opportunity could be a solution to whatever problem they have or whatever they want to help them with. Now, how do we do that? We do that through a process or a funnel that we take people through. And I would say that maybe the most important part of this funnel is the beginning. Because if we are not good at finding and contacting people, prospecting people, getting them curious and interested and intrigued to have a look at this, and then be good at inviting them to be educated on this opportunity and all sides of it, if we don't get good at that, none of the other things matters, right? You got to get them curious and interested. And if you get really good at that, then we have tools that present the whole thing. We have all kinds of videos. We don't need to be brilliant presenters to do this, because there are many brilliant presenters in the company, and there are a lot of videos and calls and so on. And then we follow up with three-way calls, and we follow up with additional information if people need that. And then we help them getting started. And sometimes you get the feeling that people think that the job is done when people have signed in. And that's when the job starts, right? In my opinion, that's when the real follow-up starts, in helping people getting started and help them develop themselves and their businesses. So keeping all this in mind, the vision, the mission, and the process to fulfill that and to do it, then you can align your vision with this and make them be in harmony. So I've chosen the topic of today to be turning challenging times, as we are in challenging times, into an opportunity, because there's a lot of people out there that don't see hope right now. So we are there to give them hope, right? And in a gentle way. I don't think it's a good idea to attack people and ask them if they have a plan B and so on and so forth, but just be compassionate person who cares about other people and ask questions and listen, and then suggest gently maybe that if I could show you a way to solve that problem, or if I could show you a way to blah blah blah, then would you be interested in learning more? And if they say yes, then we are ready there to give them tips and ideas on how to do that. And today we're going to talk a few things about how you can handle today's situations mentally, grow your business exponentially in these kind of times, and come out of this mess on top. So these are the 5 points I'm going to go strictly through. The first one we already mentioned. So we align our vision and our mission with ASEA's vision and mission so that they are in harmony. There's a word or a couple of words that we have been used to if we follow the news the last 2-3 months. And that is that every country is occupied now with one number as we unlock the countries again. And that is what we call the R, the reproduction rate. And although these are difficult times, we can always learn something from difficult times. And those who come out of this on top are people that are not only seeing the problems and the challenges and the difficulties, but people who look for the the good in it, because there's also always something good coming with the bad, right? So we can actually have a look at that and see what can we learn from this, and how can that benefit us in network marketing. We're going to talk a little bit how you can control your thinking and thereby also control your results. That could be your ASEA results, but also your results in handling a difficult situation that it is today mentally. And you can also, we're going to talk a little bit also about some of the universal laws that you can use to let those work in your favor as well. And then it's probably what we call a virtual reality, the new normal, as they call it this year. Even when we come back to unlocked countries and everything, I think that the new rhythm will be the new normal, and it's probably going to be virtual the rest of this year at least, and way into next year. So we're going to talk a little bit about a suggestion on how you can do that. So let's get started with the reproduction rate. And if you look at this, all the countries have been talking about since the whole thing started with the virus and all these things. I remember I listened into news in Norway, in the UK, and here in Spain and Sweden, and they all talk about the same. They talk about the fact that when this whole thing started, one affected person or infected person by the virus gave it on average to 3 people, 2.5 to 3 people. Now, the reason why they had to do a lot of things to stop this from spreading was that if they had let it spread, you could just go, 8 days, 16 days, maybe 24 days down the road, and you will have 20,000 people almost being infected, because 3 people gave it to 3 people. Then you suddenly had 9, and then 9 people gave it to 27 in a bar in Italy or Austria or somewhere, right? And then they traveled home and they gave it to another 3. Now we have 81, 243, and suddenly the whole health system would be out of control. So many countries said, let's stop this as soon as possible, when they actually understood what was going on. Many countries did not even understand what was going on in the beginning. Now, what if they had let this go, and suddenly every person would have affected 5 people or infected 5 people instead of 3? Then on the same level down there, just duplicate that 8 times, then you're almost 2 million people, right? So every country, every health system, everywhere in the world now, they try to get this number down to less than 1. Because if it's less than 1, a couple of weeks ago, Norway, as a country where I come from, managed to get it down to 0.7. They were even down to 0.49. Now they had to loosen up a little bit. They know that this will grow a little bit again. However, they're following this number now very carefully so that it doesn't go beyond 1. If they can keep it under 1, you see what happens in the end is that they can get rid of this, right? It will be gone. Now, translate this into our job, network marketing. We have the intention that is totally opposite of what the governments now want with the virus. We want the ASEA virus to infect as many people as possible, right? So if you recruit less than 1 person, it's only a matter of time before your business dies. The only thing that's left is your personal sales. But if you can find 3 strong leaders and duplicate, then you see the numbers there. If you can find 5, look at the difference, 8 levels down. Now let's just go 6 levels down to illustrate this. And you will also know and understand now why it is so important that you have to, in order to grow the business big, you have to let go of control. Many of us have this. I had this in the beginning. I wanted to control my whole organization. I wanted to control my business. I couldn't understand why an upline bypassed me and started talking to my downline, right? My downline. There's no such thing in this business as my downline. Every person in my organization is as much my downline as it is for the person who recruited them, because we have all the responsibility to make sure they get the best possible help. And there is no such thing that I have to control everybody. So do not control everyone and everything. because that's a recipe for slowing down your business. And you hear when people, you can hear the signals in the organization if a person says, why are you talking to my people? Right? When they don't use three-way calls, for example, since I know it all, I don't need my upline, that kind of thing. It's totally human, but it's totally wrong. I want to be recognized for the whole job. That's kind of a subconscious thing that is in our nature. But we don't need to do that here. We play a little role, and then other people plays a little role. I have to prove that I'm worth the success. I don't need help. That's something, that's a paradigm, a habitual thought patterns that we bring with us from normal work life. Now, let's have a little look at this. If we look at network marketing now, and you recruit enough people, you talk to enough people to say that you have 3 really good business builders, you could easily be almost 1,100 people there on the 6th level very soon. Now, what if each one of those in that organization consume 100 points of products or $100 of products per month, let alone per week, but per month? Then you would have $109,200 of products consumed. I mean, if you have that, if an organization has that, then I calculated a little bit, you would have that if you consider it would be a perfect balance, which is never is, but approximately then in the beginning, and you consider that you have things like fast start bonus, executive momentum pool, check match, etc. coming on, then that person would likely earn over $100,000 per year. $100,000 per year, because about 60% of it or so would be team commission, and the rest will come from other sources. So that's $100,000 a year business. Now, what if you recruited 5 instead and found 5 business builders? Then on the same level, 6th level, you would be almost 20,000 people, and you will probably max out the team commission. Not probably, you would max out the team commission, and the rest of the check match and the pools and everything would make that $1 million a year business if it was perfectly done. It will never do this exactly, of course. This is just to illustrate the power of network marketing and the danger of a virus. Now, use the knowledge or the understanding of the danger of the virus to max out your business instead, right? It's a choice of how we want to think about these things and look for the good in a bad situation. Now, this model has served me well over the past 20 years or so. It was developed by a chiropractor in southern Texas, San Antonio, Texas, I think it was, in order to get not only himself, but his colleagues in the health professions understand that if you want to treat the person, you got to treat the whole person, not just the symptoms, because he saw that he and others just treated the symptoms. So what he did was he created this so that people could understand the whole person, because he said there's more than just a physical body. There's a conscious mind, there's a subconscious mind. And the way you treat these 2 parts of your mind, there's a 3rd part to your mind as well, or to your personality, and that is your body. And then he said, the way this works is that the conscious mind is your thinking mind, right? Now, if you think about this, and I pick an example, like for example, the tendency to choose the cheapest packs when we suggest what people should invest in. Now, our job is to help them think the right way and choose what's best for them. And what's best for a person that comes in is not necessarily in the long run what is the cheapest in the beginning, right? The cheapest starter pack would very well be expensive. So most associates have a problem themselves with money paradigms. We are afraid of talking about money. And when somebody says that this is expensive or I don't have money, we tend to suggest this cheapest solution, and we give them 100 points case or 150 euro pack, right? That's not necessarily the best solution for the customer or the new associate. And looking at the opportunity in front of you, when you think about this, are you thinking of this being really for you? Is it possible for me? Is it possible for you? You see, if we think that, and if we use this model the right way, we can choose our thoughts about that. We can choose our thoughts about whether we are right for this business. We can choose our thoughts and perceptions about whether this is a good model for people to follow. Because our thinking mind is also our intellectual mind. It is where we think and where we control our thoughts. However, when we go down to the subconscious mind, that's called our emotional mind, and that part of us has no control. You see, when we are in our thinking mind, we can choose our thoughts. We can actually make a decision for ourselves on whether we want to accept a thought or idea that comes up, whether we choose to originate that thought or idea, or if we take it in from other people. We can choose our thoughts, whether we want to accept, reject, or even totally neglect any thought or idea that comes to our mind. But once we accept an idea and it is repeated to us over and over, then it will affect our subconscious mind, because our subconscious mind, our emotional mind, has no ability to reject anything. So if we choose to see that something is expensive, we're going to feel as it is expensive. So when the customer says this is expensive, you will suggest the cheapest pack. But if we choose to say that the entrepreneur pack is the best pack, the best solution for every associate, every customer, and there's a number of reasons why, we just make a decision that it is the best pack, and then we can explain and justify it later. You see, the thoughts that you choose to have will cause how you feel about it. If you choose to say this is the best solution, and you say that to yourself over and over and over, you're going to start believing and feeling that this is the best solution. And as we say, whatever goes on the inside of you must be expressed on the outside of you, meaning that if you keep thinking and choosing to think that this is the best solution for everybody, you're going to feel that way. That's going to move your body into a vibration that is very positive. And if you meet people with a positive vibration and enthusiastically suggest the entrepreneur pack, then then they will feel that energy. So people have an intuition in their conscious mind. So their intuition will pick up your vibration. So if you vibrate in a positive way about this entrepreneur pack, for example, then that vibration is going to vibrate on a certain frequency, so that you start attracting to you people, situations, conditions, circumstances, whatever it is you need to fulfill these thoughts. So to keep it really simple, choose your thoughts carefully about how you think about what's best solution for the customer, the associate, or the new associate. Suggest or decide to suggest the entrepreneur pack. Find out exactly why it is. We're going to talk a little bit about that. And then when you have done that, you are going to start feeling that too. So thoughts create feelings. Feelings set up a vibration in your body and cause your body to move into action. It is your action that causes the reaction from the universe. And then that will enhance your results. So let's go a little more practical into this. So you choose your thoughts cause your feelings are expressed in your actions, and those actions will start attracting to you and what you need in order to produce the results that you actually want. Okay, so Bob Proctor told me many years ago, as you may know, he's one of the top success trainers in the world, and I've had the pleasure of knowing him, having him as a friend and mentor for many, many, many years. And he said one day to me that the more you study this information, Oddmund, he said, the more you look at yourself. And as you continually apply the information, you will find yourself constantly reevaluating yourself. Your belief about what you are capable of doing will keep changing, and your results will continually improve. That's well said, isn't it? As you continually apply the information. You see, this is not only going to affect you, but it's also going to make you understand the people you communicate this opportunity to better as well. As you understand yourself, you also understand that people you talk to, whether it's one-on-one or whether it is a number of people in the audience, you will have a lot of people coming to you that will benefit if you can see themselves see them as this little person with 3 parts to their personality, because they will have different perceptions than you of the same information. They will have different pictures in their mind than you. They will reason differently. Now, let me tell you just briefly a little story that I learned from Bob, that he told about in his book, You Were Born Rich, many years ago when that came out. That story actually ended up being a story that also my other mentor, Jack Canfield, put into his program, into his books called the Chicken Soup for the Soul books, and became a very famous story that has inspired millions and millions of people all over the world, because the books that Jack Canfield wrote, where he also added this story, that book has been sold, I think now 500 million copies or something. He sold 150 million copies of his various books, and then he sold the whole concept, and it became 500 million. Now the story goes like this. Bob, just to briefly, so that you have an idea what they did. Bob Proctor was talking about the low polarity, and he was talking about this on a seminar in Northern Canada many years ago. And there was a guy in the audience, Bob Templeton, who was the vice president of Telemedia Communications, a radio network in Ontario and Quebec area of Canada. He got fascinated in the seminars by the law of opposites, the law of polarity, that there's always an opposite side of the same thing. Now, on the way home, they passed a small little town called Barrie, Ontario, north of Toronto. Had been hit by a devastating tornado, and all the houses were crashed, the cars were crashed, and the whole small little town had lost, many people had lost everything they had. So he said to himself that there must be a way that we can help people. So he called in all his managers. When he came back to the radio station, he called in on a Friday morning everybody in his office, into his office, the management team, and he said there must be a way to help people. And he said, how would you like to raise $3 million in 3 days from now, in just 3 hours, right? So 3 days from now, we're going to spend 3 hours collecting $3 million and raise $3 million to the people of Barrie, Ontario. And the management committee said immediately, hey, Templeton, you're crazy. That's not possible. Hey, he said, I didn't ask if it was possible. I asked if you would like to do this. And they all agreed, of course, that they'd like to. Then that was the whole point of the question. He wanted to have them feel that that would be nice to do. And to make a long story short, he said when he started, let's brainstorm this. Let's put ourselves around the table here, and before we leave this office, we're going to come up with an idea on how to do this. Now, he wrote then a T account, and then he said, let's do this. And people started throwing ideas, and one person said, let's do a radio show across Canada. And another person said, that's not possible. We don't have radio stations to cover the whole country. And then they stopped the discussion. So Templeton then said, listen, I don't want us to spend time discussing why we cannot do this. So on the left side of the T account, he said why we can't, and on the right side, how we can do this. And then he put a big red cross on the left side, and he said every time a person suggests something, and someone else says it's not possible or doable, the others should shout next, and we just skip that discussion. So now we concentrate only on how we can do it, and we're looking for the reasons how we can do something and how we can accomplish it and why we should do it, rather than just focusing on why it's impossible. So they agreed to do that, and then one of the others said, let's get the 2 best TV anchors to anchor this, and a person said that's not possible because they are just TV anchors, and the person said next. So they didn't even discuss that. Then one person said, let's do a radiothon, a 3-hour radiothon, marathon radio show. Radiothon. That's not possible because we don't have enough stations. And he said, well, next we do it with other stations. We talk with our competitors, and it turned out that they can do this. To make a long story short, They managed to raise $3 million in a 3-hour radio show 3 days later, and thereby the 333 story. So how can we use that? How can we use the law of polarity and think about why we always should be looking for how we can accomplish something rather than why we can't accomplish something? Because we as human beings, we're all the same. It's so much easier because we are programmed to look for what's wrong with things. We're programmed to look for the scandals and for the bad news rather than the good news. The newspapers are full of the bad news, right? So instead of looking for 1,000 reasons why we cannot accomplish something, let's look at how we can rather than why we can't. You see, you can have everything you want. All things are possible when you put your focus on how you can, and then you next every idea telling you why you can't do something, right? So these are the takeaways from that story. When you're up against the so-called undoable challenge, or you're going to hit a new rank or new level, or you're going to turn around a business that has been going down for a while, for example, you can 333 it, right? You can use that brainstorming technique and do it together with your team and come up with 1,000 ideas on how this could be done. You can be crazy and you can be creative. It's a great team building game that creates excitement. You can think out of the box. You can think that past and present results have no bearing on what you can do in the future. Has nothing to do with what you can accomplish down the road. Whatever you have done or have not done in the past should not predict what you think you can do in the future. You can imagine, you can fantasize, because those imagination is one of the 6 mental muscles that you use to think with in your conscious mind. So you can choose your thoughts. And you can ask, for example, what if? What if I could do this? And why not? Why not me? Why not us? And then surround yourself with positive, supportive people that are supporting your ideas and not just try to be devil's advocates all the time. So how can you then use this knowledge to quantum leap your impact on people's health and wellness all over the world and multiply your income as a result of it? When, why, and how you recommend the Entrepreneur Pack as an example, as the best solution for customers as well as new associates, could help you big time. I'm going to look at why. Together with my frontline gold distributor in Denmark, in Copenhagen, ASEA Drachmann, she was number 4 on the European list of recruiters, top recruiters. She's always been a fantastic recruiter and being one of the best we have. And we decided to make a little experiment. I didn't even tell her in the beginning, but I thought about this story and how can we use this to grow her business and to help them achieve more. Now, immediately you start thinking about why we can't. So we're going to have a look at that and then how we can. Now, instead of the question that Templeton asked his radio people, I said, how would you like to triple the average starter pack volume in your team from, for example, 200 points to 600 points, while knowing that you offered at the same time your new customer or associate the best deal they could get? Now, immediately people would start thinking of that's not possible, or reasons why they couldn't do that. They would say this would be too expensive in this crisis. People are losing their jobs, for God's sake. Buying power goes down. I'm not good with money. I don't feel comfortable discussing that with them. Or isn't this against our ethos to just sell bigger and bigger packs to people? Now, all kinds of thoughts like this, because we have paradigms, will come up. So instead, let's put a cross over that and look at why we can, how we can. You can focus top down instead of down up. You can start with the best pack and convince yourself, because it is the best pack for every associate and every customer that comes in. If they want the best solution, it is the big pack, the entrepreneur, one of the entrepreneur packs. And then you start there and you go down if you have to. If people says that this is totally impossible for me and they have to choose smaller, then at least they probably go away with a business pack instead of the smallest pack. Think big instead of small. Think best instead of cheapest. We know now with the gene study that the first 60 days, even a healthy person, if they double the doses, can have a real good improvement. I think it was between 20 and 31% of their health in 5 major areas of their health, even if they start as a very healthy person. And having enough products, having a starter pack as an entrepreneur pack, make that possible. If you only buy a case or suggest 1.5 case, that's not possible. And there's additional value that your team can add to this. Now, entrepreneur packs, think about when, why, and how should we recommend the entrepreneur pack as the best solution for customers as well as associates. I'm wholly convinced that we should always do that. Always, because it is the best package. It gives them, why? Because it's the best deal. You set them up for success, not only physically, because now they have enough products to take double doses and really boost the body in the beginning, but also mentally, because they will probably take part in our training and be part of the whole society and all the personal development programs that we have, etc. So you will help them mentally, and you will set them up for financial success as well. How? As we are showing today. So what did we do? Here's some highlights, what we did with ASEA's team, and they all contributed into this, and I'm really proud of them, and they made a great example for the rest of the team. Of course, we did what we always should be doing, daily prospecting, recruiting new customers and associates. We used the process, the funnel, the tools, etc. And we were all promoting the entrepreneur pack as the best solution for customers and associates, physically, mentally, and financially. We were leveraging weekly presentations and our Q&A lives that I do once or twice a week for the team, where people can bring on prepared prospects and get their answers, get their questions answered, and in order to help them close them or help them get new people started. We were leveraging our personal development programs that we have a number of, and the value of those. And you say the more you invest, the more programs you get access to. So why this strategy is also likely to increase actually retention, because a lot of people think that they think they have created this thought in their head that if I sell them a big pack, they will jump off authorship. They will stop because they have too much products. No, they don't. Not if we explain it the right way. You see, I think actually the opposite. We have experienced that that people actually stay longer if they have the biggest pack. It makes people stay longer on authorship, contrary to what most people believe. One reason is now they have more products, they're likely to provide faster and larger impact on their health. So they start feeling what these products can do faster. And therefore, more people will be recommending the products, right? More people with good experiences will talk with more people about these experiences and recommend the products. They want to keep their personal volume if they start working on this. So they don't want to jump off authorship. They want to keep the personal volume. They want to keep the loyalty reward points, and they want to keep access to our team, to our personal development programs as well. So the focus was top-down, promoting Entrepreneur Pack as the best recommendation for their physical, mental, and financial health, promoting the value of the discounts or benefits to around 500 euros. I counted this. It is if they buy the biggest pack, or one of the biggest packs, the entrepreneur packs, over the first year, you will receive so much discounts and benefits and points, etc., to free products that you receive a value of 400 or 500 euros. So it's actually over a 12-month period, the best, financially also best package that you can have. So her approach was to show all, ASEA and I, we do this a little bit differently. She prefers to, and both ways work perfectly. She shows all the packs, the cheapest pack, the mid-range packs, and the largest packs. And she says, you know, this is why the cheapest is the most expensive, and she promotes the entrepreneur pack as the best deal. I prefer to show just the entrepreneur packs. I don't talk about anything else. And I promote the importance and the uniqueness of the drink. And I don't talk about the other packs unless I think it is impossible to get them to do the entrepreneur pack. So then we promote the importance, the uniqueness of the drink, which leaves 2 packs to choose from. And that is only the 800 points pack or the 1040 points pack, because the other 2 entrepreneur packs do not contain the drink. So in this case, they only have 2 to choose from. And since the difference is not so big, every single one of the people that I've had through this little project chose the 1,040 points, because they see that that's the best solution, because they want to have a selection of all the products. So by leveraging personal development, our ethos, the team, and talking about the whole buffet, a lot of people bought the bigger packs. So what was the results then? Well, over a 3 weeks period, that small little team with a few distributors had 20 new associates or customers recruited, with an average starter pack volume increasing from before being around 200, 230, 50 points to now be an average of 713 points. And one of the associates only recruited 3 customers. He was customer, or for some reason had just customer focused those weeks. And if we took that away, because they typically would end up a little less, buying a little less than a business builder, and took that away, then the average was over 800 points. That's a 400% increase. Now, as a benchmark, last time I checked, that's a little while ago, but then an average person who starts as an associate or customer in Europe has started with 170 points. In North America, it's a little higher, 230, 40 points. In Asia, however, where you would think that maybe they have less money and so on, they're more business oriented. They're more oriented towards the thinking that we're talking about today, and they average over 500 points. So you could ask, what would that do to your business? When you set up new customers, associates for faster results, physically, mentally, financially, duplicating could cause more rapid exponential growth happening in your organization due to happy customers with faster and more significant product experiences, because now they have enough product. What it was unexpected that we also found in this little project was that prospects made faster decisions. You would think that they would need more time to think to buy a 1,000 euro pack than a 150 euro pack, but no, it was the other way around. They made faster decisions, although the investment was higher, because so was also the value. Now, what happens is that if you look at the middle box, we call this the law of relativity, and the price is never expensive or cheap, it just is. So if the price for an entrepreneur pack would be around 1,000, the middle box here, if a person says this is expensive or this is too much money, it is because we haven't explained well enough the big box yet, the value they will get in return. We haven't explained well enough the buffet table then. We haven't shown them all the benefits of coming into this. So they start comparing to the small bank account where there's little or no money, and they don't see the big box yet, and therefore they say it's expensive. But you see, if you put a little numbers on this, you can choose any number you want, and it's easy to explain. And you could say, as an example, if a person takes and runs with this opportunity and they get an income of 2,000 a month, average over the first year, that's at 24,000 in a year. I have no problems explaining that what you receive in personal development in this first year in your business would by far exceed 15,000 euros if you take advantage of everything that you can learn in this business, in this organization. And then you get products for your health, etc., etc. And you can choose to say that this is our product. This is our total product, and the value of it is more than 40,000. It could be very well worth millions in the long run, right? But let's say the first year, let's say, to be a little conservative in the numbers, and no promises. This is just an example, right, of illustrating the value. You can choose to, if it's more comfortable, to say 20,000. That will be true also, but it will be way bigger value coming back as a return on your investment than the 1,000 approximately that you paid to get in. Now the price of 1,000 seems small to most people. Now, over the period of time that we're going into now, how would you work? Because we're locked down, or we are closed in, or whatever you call it. It's limited how we can travel and move around, and we have to adapt to a lot of things, you know. So here's a suggestion, just a generic suggestion. Then you, of course, talk to your leader in your teams to set up the right rhythm for you. But we choose to call this the new normal, as we hear them talk about in each country now, the new normal, because we're not going to go back, maybe ever, to how it was. You're going to see people with masks walking around in the city in Europe also now, as you saw them in Japan before, maybe, and you wonder what they were doing. This is what they're doing. So our business building rhythm will also change. It won't change as much for some of us, because I made a decision years ago to do this virtually from the southern Spain because I like the climate down here. So I more or less worked this way all the time. But here's what you can do. No matter how you do it, it's going to be the number one thing is the daily activities. A few simple disciplines practiced every day is always going to make the business. It's the process that you do over and over and over. And the more you do it, with the faster speed you do it, the better you become and the better results you get. Then you have the weekly supportive calls. That could be big picture call, as we call it, every Tuesday evening. It could be a Q&A live, as I do every Wednesday for my team, and answer and support them in that. It could be local meetings, gatherings for people to meet physically when we are allowed to do that. We, my wife Angelika and I, we have a monthly training for our organization. That is a 90-minute training one Saturday every month. Then we have local meetings where they have super Saturdays, super Sundays, etc., physically meeting. And there's also always a need to meet also when we're allowed to do that. Then we have quarterly events, usually in a business like this, but now it's going to be a team workshop. Instead of us traveling to different countries, it will be virtually over Zoom, team workshop for 3-4 hours. Then hopefully we can get together again in Budapest in February next year. I personally believe that it will be restrictive what we can do with the World Convention. We will wait for the company to come out with news about that. But my personal view on that is that's a little early. And we'll see what they come up with. In addition, there will of course be ad hoc special events and calls, etc. So let me finish this whole thing off. I hope this gave you a few ideas and inspired you to think a little bigger and different, to increase your business and come out on top after these circumstances. And we have Earl Nightingale as an inspirational leader and personal developer since many years back. He said once in one of his books that do each day all that can be done that day. To get the habit of success, you need only to succeed in the small actions of each day. This makes a successful day. Enough of these successful days and you have a successful week, a month, a year, actually a successful lifetime. A lifetime is comprised of days strung together into weeks, months, and years. And each day consists of one or more tasks that day. So a successful life is therefore nothing more than a lot of successful days put together. So the idea that I promise you would change your life and your ASEA business is to live successfully just one day at a time. In looking back, you will realize that your success was not attributable to any one day or week or month, but rather it was the consistent, unrelenting, successful succession of single days that turned the trick. This is the way a skyscraper was built. This is the way a home or a human life is successfully built. This is why I say that success is not a matter of luck. Far from it. It can be predicted and guaranteed, and anyone can achieve it by following this plan. Almost before you realize it, you'll have achieved your goal. And that, my friends, was what I wanted to share with you today. And we still have a few minutes to the top of the hour. So if Edward, if you want to take over and say a few things in the end, or if anybody has any questions, I'm willing to do that too. Up to you.
Oddmund, thank you very much for this very positive message. Yes, maybe if you have questions for Oddmund, feel free to use the chat. I can see the very good feedback about this presentation and this message. Well, while you maybe think about some question, I would like to emphasize on something Oddmund said. Is this how we can instead of how we can't? I think this is very inspiring, and in any difficult time there is something positive, right? We can look for the positive in any negative situation. This is what we call an opportunity. So this is also my message to you today. Take the time to rethink your approach. and take the time of the situation to not only think about the product, but also think about the opportunity. And network marketing, our industry, has a very strong history of growth during those time of economic slowdown. And the current situation we are facing today is absolutely not different. So yes, again, I can only encourage you to talk to your sponsor, talk to your leaders, and use the momentum. Use the momentum of the situation, use the momentum of ASEA. I think many of you saw this ranking already. This was released beginning of April. Now ASEA is in the top 50 of the network marketing company. We are celebrating our 10 years anniversary. This is something we are also very proud of. And we are also one of the fastest growing network marketing companies. So all of those tools are here. The momentum is here. So yes, use them and use those excellent training. I can only read the very good feedback from this training. So Oddmund, thank you very much again for waking up very early and changing your rhythm for our friends all over Europe. And well, I wish all of you a very successful day, a very successful week, and we see each other no later than June 17th for our next breakfast call. So thank you very much and see you soon. Goodbye.
Thank you.